Our cover story this half hour focusing on pressure continuing to mount now for Florida lawmakers to do something, anything, to knock down costs for condo owners throughout Florida. A special session of the legislature might fix that, but at the moment, the Florida House, the Senate, and the governor can't seem to agree on exactly what needs to happen. So for more on this, Capitol reporter Forrest Saunders joining me here. And Forrest, we're now less than 2 months out from the regular session, so you got to wonder, is it going to make that much of a difference to do it, 6-7 weeks early?
That's exactly right, Paul. I mean, that's one of the things that people keep asking is, what's the rush here? Well, if you talk to condo owners, there is a rush, and that is because they're finding themselves in the pinch between having these higher and higher costs and then not being able to sell their property if they can't afford it. Check it out. The stories keep coming from Florida's coast.
It's going to put a pinch on I think a lot of people that have fixed incomes.
Condo owners frustrated with rising costs.
Since I've been here since about 2010, my condo fee was around $250. Now it's $670.
And they can't sell them for the same reason.
I've had 10 showings, and when I've done about 30 open houses, nobody appears to come to see the properties.
The problem, still rising property insurance rates and new rules following that Surfside collapse. They require condos gather costly repair funds and do regular maintenance.
This is ridiculous that people are going to be placed in these predicaments.
Governor Ron DeSantis said this week he still wants a special session to offer fixes and has backed zero-interest loans or delaying deadlines. But at the moment,
I don't know that there's an agreement on exactly what needs to happen, because I said, look, if we have agreement, I'll call the session and we'll go. But I do think we need to act sooner rather than later, and so we're going to be working with the legislature on that.
While Florida waits, the problem compounds. Data from market analysts show condo supply keeps growing, prices dropping, sales diminishing. In Tampa alone, the number of condos for sale soared 57.2% from a year earlier in July. Florida's major metros show HOA fees up more than 15% year over year.
I have heard the call for a special session on condos just like the rest of us have.
New House Speaker Danny Perez remains cold on the idea of an early return. Sources tell us he doesn't want to dramatically unwind the changes made post-Surfside.
The question shouldn't be when. The question should be what. What is the solution that people are offering to the issue before condos? It's an issue we'll be discussing during session.
The Senate president equally chilly, saying it would likely be something they'd tackle in March.
The answer is yes. The goal is to dig in very deeply and heavily on this.
And fresh off a listening tour with constituents, the Senate Minority Leader Jason Pizzo is mulling ideas, though he too is wary of dramatically easing new requirements.
People think there was Champlain and nothing else, but 26 buildings have been condemned since Surfside's collapse, primarily in South Florida, where people are no longer allowed to go back to.
And
one in my old district.
Is that proof that the bill's working? I mean, is that saving lives?
Sure, absolutely.
Pizzo thinking about creating a uniform standard for condo repair assessments. He thinks that'll ensure they're not bloated with millions in unnecessary cost.
When you're seeing another association of mine in Hallandale with a $51 or $52 million pending assessment, and there's a separate line item for pool furniture, that's not what we meant about keeping buildings structurally safe, right?
The ideas are there, the frustration certainly there, but whether lawmakers will be here before March remains to be seen. Okay, so there are some other potentials for a special session, too. I mean, DeSantis left the door open for that when he was speaking earlier this week. One of them would be on immigration. He says there's going to be a lot of executive orders that he's expecting to come down from the new White House. And so that's something that lawmakers might want to tackle early, but also hurricane relief, right? You still got a lot of people who are recovering from Helene and Milton, and that might be something that he could get out the door sooner rather than later, rather than waiting for the budget, which isn't usually ready to go until July 1st. So there are still potentials for special sessions. We just need to get that consensus from both chambers and the governor in order to make any of them happen. Paul?
A lot to get through. All right, Forrest, thank you. All right, let's get a check of the